So hello dear students. So this is the second part of the video of the topic what is theory by Jonathan Culler. So let's begin. So after concentrating his discussion on Michel Foucault's discourse, Jonathan Culler now refers to Jacques Derrida's discussion of writing and experience in Jean-Jacques Rousseau's Confessions. Okay, so Jean-Jacques Rousseau, he wrote his book Confession, and here Derrida discusses this book of Rousseau. Okay. Now, when we did deconstruction, I've already told you that Western philosophy privileges speech over writing, okay, because of the presence of the speaker in the speech. Now, on the contrary, we see that in his book Confessions, Rousseau regards writing as an inessential extra. Okay, he considered it as a disease of speech. According to him, speech is much more important than writing. However, Derrida shows that in his book Confessions, he states the complete opposite of it. That means he contradicts his own argument. Now, in his Confessions, Rousseau states that the notion of self is an inner reality. Okay, and this reality is unknown to the outer world. For him, his true inner self is different from the self that appears in conversations with others, and he needs writing to supplement the leading signs of this speech. So, we all have our inner self, that is what Rousseau states, and we do not try to reveal this inner self of ours in front of the society. But when we converse with people, okay, with others, what we do is that we do not reveal our true self. So he says that he wrote Confessions in order to reveal his true self. That means the self which he tried to the self which he tried to probably hide from the world through his speech. He wants to reveal his true self through his autobiography Confessions. Then in that sense, we must say that speech is a lack, for it might not truly convey the intention of the speaker. Yes or no? That means speech is a lack, in contrary to what the Western philosophy holds, that speech occupies a much privileged position than writing. So if that is the case, then why did Rousseau resort to using writing to fulfill the lack of speech? Okay, now in this context, Derrida refers to a particular example which Rousseau describes in his book. Okay, a particular example. He takes a particular example and he shows that how Rousseau contradicts his own argument. In the beginning, he says that speech is privileged. Speech is much more, occupies a privileged position rather than writing, and writing is an inessential extra. But we see that in his book Confessions, he shows that his very motive of writing the book was to reveal his true inner self, which probably he hid through his conversation or through his speech with others. Now, this particular incident is regarding Rousseau's love as an adolescent towards Madame de Warens, whom he called Maman. And who was Madame de Warens? In her house he lived. Okay. Now, Rousseau states that the house, the furniture, the curtains, etc. of Madame de Warens' house, supplements or substitutes for her presence in her absence to Rousseau. Now, Rousseau developed a feeling of attraction. He loved probably Maman. Okay, that is Madame de Warens. But and the house, the furniture, the curtains where he stayed, it acted as supplements or substitutes for her presence in her absence. So probably the fact that this is the same house where ma'am lived, these are the furniture where she used, or these are the curtains which she used, these itself provided as supplements or substitutes for her presence. And Rousseau could feel her presence, although she was absent, but Rousseau could feel her presence in these, in these things like the house, the furniture, the curtains, etc. However, please note this, in her presence too, the same need for supplements or substitutes persists. That is, the need for the supplements remains the same. However, even when she is present in the house, still these things, that is the house, the furniture, the curtain, okay, act as supplements for him. So even in her presence or in her absence, these things, that is the house, the furniture, the curtains, act as supplements or substitutes for her presence, irrespective of the fact whether she is present or whether she is absent. Now, Derrida writes that through these series of supplements, which are the series of supplements? The house, the furniture, the curtains, there emerges a law of an endless linked series. So no matter whether she is present, no matter whether she is absent, these same things always always function as supplements for Rousseau, who loves her deeply. Now, these endless link series multiplies the supplementary mediations that produce the sense of the very thing that they differ. So, no matter whatever be it, these supplements, they produce always the feeling of her absence. Whether she is physically absent or she is physically present, no matter, that doesn't make any difference, but it always, it always produces a feeling of absence. So in this context, Derrida states that the more the text tries to tell us the importance of the presence of the thing, the more they show the necessity of intermediaries or supplements. So this, I have told you that, there is a system of endless regress in a text. That means whenever you try to deduce the original meaning or the actual meaning of a text, you see that there are always linkages, there are always supplements through which you deduce meanings, and while you deduce meanings, the original meaning never comes to rest. Okay, it always keeps on multiplying. It always produces newer and newer meanings. So the original meaning is therefore never grasped, and it is always deferred in a state of movement. I've already told you that it is always in a state of movement. It never comes to a rest. So no matter whether Mammon was present or absent, her absence was always felt by Rousseau. Now, Rousseau's example shows that instead of thinking life as something to which signs and texts are added to represent it, we should consider of life itself as suffused with signs made by the process of signification. And this process of signification never comes to a rest. You can never conceive a true meaning of life or a text, because these meanings are always related to signs, and these signs are related to innumerable signifier and signifieds, and this signifier and signifieds can never come to a rest. That means there is always an element of absence of the original meaning. Thus, in Mammon's presence or absence, there is no difference, because even her presence turns out to be a particular kind of absence. Okay. Now, through these two examples of theory, that is of Michel Foucault and Derrida, Jonathan Culler helps us to, get a deeper understanding of the term theory, which he highlighted in the very beginning of the text. Now, Derrida's theory shows us that a text can have multiple meanings and cannot be said to have a single meaning. Okay. And on the contrary, we see that Foucault's theory of discourse shows how discourses are formed and operated. Thus, theory incites us to rethink the categories or modes through which we may be reflecting on literature. So, if literature is giving us a particular meaning or a particular, a category, what theory does is that it makes us rethink the categories. And through that, it gives us multiple, modes or lenses or mediums through which we reflect on literature. Okay, so from the above discussion, he brings out 4 points, and the first point is that theory is interdisciplinary. You cannot limit theory to a particular discipline, that it is only related to literature. No, it can be related to film studies, it can be related to arts, it can be related to sociology, anything. So theory is interdisciplinary. Second thing is that theory is analytical and speculative. Yes, theory is analytical and speculative, and hence we cannot say or establish that this particular theory is true. Okay. Third is that theory is a critique of common sense notions taken as natural. Obviously, theory helps us to rethink, revisit structures which we usually take as granted. And the last point is that theory is reflexive, thinking about thinking, therefore endless. So if you say that, if I say that this particular theory is truth, I cannot assert it. I cannot say that this particular theory is the ultimate, solution or the ultimate way or guide to, reflect on this particular text. No, if I think that this particular theory is the ultimate one or the best one, you may come up with a different theory. So I cannot assert that this particular theory is, the best. So theory is reflective. It makes us thinking about thinking. We don't come to a particular theory and say that yes, it is done. This is the ultimate theory. No, new theories always comes, and therefore it is endless. So, thus in the conclusion, we can say that theory is a source of intimidation, a resource for constant upstaging. That means theory makes us question rather than accept things as they are. Second is that it can never be mastered, no matter how well versed one may be. Okay, there is always a room to know other theories. As new theories develop, we cannot say that this particular theory is the best or this is the end of theory. Third, theory questions its own results. So it questions its own results. For example, if I've applied a particular theory, a new set of theory will question the results of the old theory. So theory questions its own results and the assumptions on which they are based. So this is the end of the video. I hope you have understood it, and if you have any doubts, please feel free to come up with your questions in your queries. Thank you so much.